Goswami approached Nityananda from afar. Raghunath Das, as you know, wanted a solution to his home problem. Now you might consider, what kind of home problem could Raghunath Das Goswami have when his parents were so wealthy that all the Brahmanas and Nadia depended on their donations? The home of Raghunath Das's parents was frequented by Haridas Thakur. So much so that Raghunath Das, as a child, had association with Haridas Thakur. And Kaviraj Goswami says this is one of the reasons why Raghunath Das received the blessing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because of his childhood association with Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya. Before we speak about the festival itself in brief, because I'm sure you'll hear more about it from our illustrious seniors, let us understand that according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Raghunath Das had already received the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even before he left home. So how did those blessings manifest? They manifested in terms of indifference to his wealthy circumstances. That is no ordinary affair, because as Raghunath Das's father admitted, in trying to keep Raghunath Das from running off to join Mahaprabhu, his father said, what ropes are sufficient to bind him? His wife, Raghunath Das's mother, was saying, do something, stop this boy from running away to join Mahaprabhu's associates. Now you have to bear in mind that his parents were devotees. Devotees of such a caliber that they could invite Haridas Thakur to their home to lecture. But parents can be very attached to their children, and in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, he's no ordinary child. He was meant for displaying the highest standard of renunciation. So let us not think badly of Raghunath Das's parents. They were very good devotees and used their wealth for spiritual causes to support the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas. The father told his wife, how can I stop him? What will bind him? He's got so much opulence that Indra would be rivaled. And then he's got the most beautiful wife. If this doesn't hold someone down, if this doesn't tie someone down, I don't know what will. This indifference to wealth demonstrated by Raghunath Das Swami is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At the same time, we need to bear in mind that his home was famous, his family was famous for Vaishnava Seva. But Raghunath Das was meant to demonstrate such an extraordinary level of renunciation. His sadhana was so strict. As Raghunath Das Goswami, after he left home, he engaged in devotional service 22 hours a day and practically ate nothing. His sadhana was the talk of the Vaishnavas. It was so out of this world. And of course, Raghunath Das Goswami has an out of this world identity. We are inspired by his example as a sadhaka, as a practitioner of sadhana bhakti, and we are inspired by his ultimate identity in Krishna Lila as a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. According to Kavi Karnapur, some say he's Rati Manjari, others say he's Rasa Manjari, others say he's Bhanumati. In any case, in both his sadhana and his perfect activities of spiritual body, Raghunath Das Goswami is so beyond extraordinary. But we want to go back to discussing his indifference to wealth before he left home. Wealth is a very tricky thing. And to get Raghunath Das Goswami out of his wealthy circumstances, Kaviraj Goswami says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu played a trick. So how is it that wealth is such a tricky thing? The more you get, the more you think you need. If you know anything about behavioral economics, such academics will tell you that, let us say your income rises from 0 to 100,000 a year. Things don't stop there. What happens? Your expectations rise to 140,000 a year. So they've calculated for every dollar increase in your income, your expectations go up $1.40. So you're on a treadmill. Furthermore, they've calculated that, I speak about these things at colleges, so. The other day, yesterday, at such a glorious spiritual wedding, we spoke about the global average for the duration of romantic feelings in a mundane relationship. Yesterday was no mundane celebration in no kind of way. So 17 months. Now let's say you win the lottery for $420 million, as happens sometimes. You think, I've got it made, I'll be so happy all my life. But again, the global average for the duration of happy feelings after you've won the lottery for hundreds of millions of dollars? 17 months. And then you're right back to where you started, as if you had never won the money before. So there's something very tricky about the possession of wealth. But spiritual economics means we go to work, we do our business in order to give, not to get. We go to work or do business to give a spiritual culture to ourselves, give a spiritual culture to the family, and give to as much of the world as your resources allow. That is spiritual economics. And the family of Raghunath Das Goswami was certainly doing that, as we said in the beginning. They were funding practically every Brahmana in all of Nadia. So already you're starting to see the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But to get Raghunath Das Goswami out of those circumstances took a trick by Mahaprabhu. The wealth creates tricky circumstances, even in a Vaishnava home, because Raghunath Das was meant to display, as we said, such a rigid sannyas, renunciation. So Mahaprabhu employed a trick. Go home, stop acting like a mad person running away all the time and then being captured and dragged back to your house. Externally, act like a first-class business person. Externally, act like you're totally into making money, supervising the expenditure of money, family affairs, but internally have nothing in your heart except the desire to serve Shri Radha Krishna. So this was Mahaprabhu's trick. Then again, it's actually the result of a Vaishnava seeking guidance. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya. Raghunath Das wanted to know, what do I do about my circumstances? How do I ever break free and join the associates of Mahaprabhu? He's asking Mahaprabhu that question, and Mahaprabhu is giving guidance, showing that a guidance culture is so important in bhakti. Raghunath Das followed Mahaprabhu's advice. And for 1 year, one whole year, you might think that's not a long time, or you might think that is a long time for him to avoid his desires to run off to Puri and be with Mahaprabhu. In any case, for 1 year, he externally was immersed in family and business affairs. And he had to do a trick of his own because his father and uncle got into trouble with the local version of the IRS at the time.
If we could humbly request all the devotees to move forward a little bit. There's some people waiting outside and we'd like them to be able to get in. I think if we just scoot forward just a little bit, everybody gets a little closer together, we'll be able to make room for everybody. And then especially you devotees on the stairs, you've lost your spots. You have to come forward, otherwise no one will be able to enter the temple because you're sitting on the stairs blocking them from entering the temple. Of course, no one wants to block the Vaishnavas from entering the temple. Just move on off. Everybody come forward. Let's let everybody in. Thank you so much.
So we were talking about the father and uncle of Raghunath Das. They got into trouble about it. They were tax collectors and they had some or other cut out the middleman, the Muslim middleman, and that middleman became angry. And so Raghunath Das had to manage the situation, showing the expertise of a Vaishnava. He talked to the outraged Muslim tax collector in such a way that tears came to the person's eyes. Raghunath Das was able to touch the heart of that person. We're like relatives. And you're like the brother of my father and uncle. And you're a sadhu. And you know the holy scriptures. You're practically a Muslim saint. But he said it with such impact that tears were falling from the person's eyes. Oh, tell your father and uncle, just give me a bigger cut and everything will be all right. So this is a demonstration. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You might think, what's such a mundane dealing doing there? But it shows Raghunath Das following the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, the biggest manifestation of Mahaprabhu's mercy was arranged by Nityananda Prabhu. Raghunath Das appealed to him. Without you, who can get shelter at Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet? Nityananda is on the bank of the Ganga, surrounded by his confidential associates. And during the whole festival, those confidential associates thought they were cowherd boys on the bank of the Yamuna. So many extraordinary things were going on during this festival, which I'm sure you'll hear more about from the other glorious speakers to follow. But what I wanted to stress in this brief discussion was Raghunath Das Goswami's indifference to the most extraordinarily wealthy circumstances that was also the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu employed a trick and that trick was that Raghunath Das would be externally totally into family and business affairs, to the extent that he could negotiate with the Muslim outraged middlemen. But at the same time, in his heart, he had nothing other than the desire to serve Sri Radha and Krishna and become an associate of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So this indifference to the most extraordinary wealth is something we shouldn't take lightly. And we should understand that Mahaprabhu told him to deal with it. Stop trying to run away all the time. Deal with your situation. This was the guidance of the Guru, how to extricate yourself from the material energy. Mahaprabhu told him, do it with patience and intelligence. Be strategic about how you handle your situation. The time will come when you will be able to join with me. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
We would like to request Radhanath Maharaj and Devamrita Maharaj to switch seats.